Very much for coming today. We appreciate your time, and if anybody has questions or wishes to interview any of the other candidates, please feel free. Thank you.
Can I throw a question out there? I mean, is it new legislation we need, or do we need to get rid of the bills that kind of brought all this on to us? What's the best avenue?
I think it's a culmination of multiple things. We're talking about legislation that was passed that has no basis in the reality in which we live. When you talk about bail reform and you are releasing hundreds of violent criminals into the street in a matter of weeks, I don't know what logical human being would ever think doing something along those lines would produce anything but crime and chaos. So this was totally political and partisan in nature, and that's what they did. New York City radicals threatened our elected here on Long Island, if you do not vote the way we want, we are going to have progressive primary you next go around, and we're going to get rid of you. That is a fact. They told us that's what happened. That's what happened. So that is why I refer to them as weak and cowardice, because they weren't elected by New York City radicals. They were elected by Long Island residents. That's who they're obligated to. And you either take the job to do it or you take it to have it. Clearly, they took it to have it because they're failing miserably at doing it. And the legislation that they're looking at is also protecting police officers, making it a crime if you interfere with the police officer trying to effectuate an arrest. You have some untenable situations right now where you talk about someone's civil rights and their liberties to take a cell phone and shove it in a police officer's face within 5 feet of him while he's trying to put handcuffs on someone, right? And that's their right to do it, regardless of the circumstance that gets caused by that action against the police officer. You have a police officer being choked on video in New York City, and you have a district attorney who says, well, the police officer shouldn't have put his arm up to push him back. He kind of provoked it. And they call it a headlock. Why is it that when a perpetrator puts a police officer in a chokehold, they call it a headlock? And if a police officer does it, it's called a felony. What world are we living in? Where did that become the norm in New York? When did that become the norm in Suffolk County because New York City decided that's the way we should live? That's what I'm upset about. This should never have happened. And you're holding police officers in New York and across this country responsible for one incident that happened halfway across the country. We don't hold every looter and protester responsible to the same, do we? But you have this radical movement that says it's okay to loot Gucci and Macy's because they're feeding their family. Well, I don't know how you eat a pocketbook or Nike sneakers, right? Maybe someone can explain that to me. Because I may be old school. I thought if you were hungry, you steal bread and milk. You try and feed your family. That I can forgive. Not what they're doing. It's not violence if they have insurance to pay it. What kind of lunacy is this? Am I upset? You're goddamn right I am. This is absurd. This should not be happening. This is wrong. It's wrong in Suffolk County. It's wrong for our nation. It's disgraceful. And they are responsible. And they need to be held accountable. And they will be. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.